Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and if you want shocking news, we got that today. I was not expecting to talk about this at all, but apparently, PlayStation might have a big game to reveal this Thursday, and allegedly, it might not just be for the PlayStation 5. And no, I'm not talking about PC either. I am talking about a legitimate multi-platform game from one of Sony's biggest IP. So stick around for all of that, and then also, we will talk about another leak for Nintendo, and this one is pretty exciting if you're a longtime Pokemon fan. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with a new handheld console from Nioh, and they're a very interesting company. On one side, they make sleek and capable handhelds, but one criticism that they seem to face time and time again is that their prices are a little bit high. They seem to make boutique type of devices. They're niche, but they do seem to cater to very specific fans. Well, they more than earned that reputation today because they just revealed the Nioh Next 2, which will be a Windows PC handheld, and it's been grabbing headlines for its $4,300 price tag. Yeah, this is definitely a premium handheld with a 9-inch OLED display and the largest built-in battery for its category. Now, I will say that even though it's grabbing attention for its absurdly high price tag, there is more to this story. You can actually get it as low as $1,800 if you want the lower spec model. I will include an image on screen so you can kind of compare and see what to expect between each one of them. There are 3 options, and they do have an Indiegogo page, so for those that pre-order it there, will get their early bird special, which is where these lower prices are coming from. Now again, this handheld will likely be very niche given its price tag, but if it is something that interests you, then go check out their Indiegogo page. Oh, and Reanimal will be out here in just a few days because apparently, everything is releasing in the month of February. Seriously, think about it. There's Dragon Quest VII, Yakuza 3, there's Resident Evil 9, Nioh 3, High on Life 2, Mario Tennis, Reanimal, and come on, slow down just a little bit, industry. Give us some breathing room, that's all I kind of ask here, but nonetheless, Reanimal seems to be another hit from Tarsier Studios, and that's the thing about this game. This is their first new IP since the making of Little Nightmares 1 and 2. Those games turned out to be a huge hit, as we all know, and seemingly, Reanimal continues their legacy of making high-quality horror experiences. In fact, there's now a very real argument that Reanimal is actually a better game between it and Little Nightmares 3, which was, of course, developed by Supermassive Games. Nonetheless, though, Reanimal so far has an 80 overall score on Metacritic, and it's being described as a horror experience that you're not going to want to miss. Apparently, it takes a lot of what made Little Nightmares so special, but they ramped up certain things like its intensity. So if anything else, if you like the Little Nightmares series, then you're probably going to want to check out Reanimal as well. Now, we also got some good news for Nioh 3 because according to Alinea Analytics, it's already surpassed 700,000 units sold across the PlayStation 5 and on PC. The split, though, is very interesting in this case because Steam is its leading platform with 395,000 units sold, and this yet again not only shows you the importance of PC, but also the growth that the PC platform has had this generation. It is becoming a lot more common for it to be the lead platform. So I think by this point, if you're a multi-platform company, and if you're not putting your games on PC day one, then I really don't know what you're doing. There is just so much potential on PC right now. It has a huge market, and I think a part of that is because it has a big market in places like China. In fact, Alinea Analytics claimed that China drove its promising start, and that China makes up about 50% of the entire Nioh fan base. So that is something worth considering, but yeah, big congrats to Team Ninja for their early success on Nioh 3. Now, one big story this month has been about Pokemon. It's the 30th anniversary after all, and there's a lot of speculation about what's going to be announced on Pokemon Day, which is, of course, on February 27th. The thing, however, is that there's been a lot of leaks this year, mostly on the side of Pokemon Generation 10, but Today, the leaks have shifted over to some legacy titles as well, which are seemingly Pokemon Leaf Green and Fire Red. Now, this actually comes from Riddler Coup, who actually has a very good track record, which is why fans are going crazy over this. But the leaks didn't stop there, because another leaker claimed that it won't be a Nintendo Switch Online release, but rather it will be an eShop title, which is actually better news. I mean, not only because you're not going to have to stay subscribed to a service that you don't want to play Pokemon, but also because this opens up its compatibility for something like Pokemon Home, which allegedly it will have. Now, even though I am a huge fan of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and I'll likely buy this if it turns out to be true, admittedly, I do think that there's better ways to play Pokemon Fire Red in today's world, most notably being Radical Red, but even still, it will be cool to see a game like this come back with likely online elements, which in my opinion is one of the best things about modern day Pokemon games. They're just so easy to jump into the competitive scene, which just offers so much strategy. I mean, if you've not tried competitive Pokemon, and if you like strategy in your turn-based RPGs, then you should definitely check it out. Now, if they release a physical version, though, I mean, fans will go crazy over something like that, because truly Fire Red and Leaf Green are excellent and really historical games. These are some of the most beloved games of all time. I mean, there's also the possibility that this could potentially be a remake. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that, but Riddler Coup didn't exactly say a whole lot, so it's hard to say right now. But honestly, these are some of my favorite games of all time, so I hope this rumor turns out to be true. But let me know what you all think about this in the comments below. Do you believe this rumor or not? All right, now let's just go and get into a crazy story that I was not expecting to talk about, at least for another couple of years, and that's the idea that God of War is going to come to the Nintendo Switch 2. And no, that's not a joke. This is a very real thing that's being floated around right now by multiple different sources. So what's happening here is that the long-rumored Metroidvania God of War is rumored to be on the way, with the shocking surprise that it might actually be a multi-platform game with the inclusion of the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, this all started off with Nash Weedle, which, not to be mean, but I don't really trust him all that much. Now, I mean, that might change after this month, depending if he gets a few of these leaks correct. But where this story gets really interesting is that Nate the Hate and RGT85 both said that they had heard similar things. And you can see Nate's tweet here, which reads, "All I can say is this. When talk of the 2D God of War first started last year, I heard whispers that it was being considered for a multi-platform release. Whether that consideration evolved into an active plan, I don't know." And then RGT85, he said he had heard something very similar just a few weeks back. And what that tells me is that there's either a fake rumor circulating behind the scenes, which, okay, that's very possible, or that Sony has actually had a conversation about it being on the Switch 2, and that's where all these rumors are coming from. And I don't think that's necessarily as outlandish as some people might first think. I mean, first off, Sony has already released multiple games on Nintendo just these past couple of years. There's Patapon, Everybody's Golf, Freedom Wars, and then also Lego Horizon being the biggest of the four. Then there's also the fact that Sony was hiring for somebody to lead their multi-platform strategy beyond PlayStation consoles just last year. So they are dipping their toes into the idea of multi-platform, even beyond just PC. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen with their biggest games. You know, I wouldn't expect the next Naughty Dog game to launch on other platforms. But when you think about it, a Metroidvania God of War 2D type of game is quite a big shift for what Sony's been doing this generation. You know, they might view it as a riskier type of game because it's not a big blockbuster title. So their thinking might be, why not position it as a multi-platform game to expand its reach and also to broaden the fan base for God of War? I mean, think about it this way. It might not necessarily be a system seller for the PlayStation 5, but if it turns out to be a big hit on the Switch 2, well then who knows? Maybe some of the Nintendo user base will then buy into the PlayStation 5 to play games like, let's say, God of War Ragnarok. But I will tell you this much right now, because we've already seen this happen to Xbox. If this game actually launches on the Switch 2, and there is still an if with this entire scenario, but if it does, and if it has success, this is more or less Sony opening Pandora's box. It will not just be this game. This will be just the beginning of more Switch 2 support from PlayStation going forward. And I've said it before, I think this is incredibly exciting for both Nintendo fans and also for PlayStation fans alike. I mean, maybe PlayStation fans will be mad about this at first, and okay, I get it, but if you're a part of that group, just bear with me for a moment. What I want you to pay attention to is the type of games that Sony is putting on the Switch 2. These are smaller scale games, and I say that as a good thing because with the inclusion of Nintendo, then maybe Sony will start to be a little bit more experimental yet again, like they used to be on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4. You know, maybe they don't just have to make big blockbuster quadruple A games, but they can also make games like Puppeteer, Sly Cooper, and Gravity Rush type of games. You know, maybe those type of games can make a comeback. And more so, if you remember right, back during the PlayStation 3 era, Sony released a lot of HD collections like God of War, Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet & Clank, and the list goes on and on and on. Well, what if Sony started to do more collections with their legacy titles because they can also put them on PC and the Switch 2 to really maximize their potential? I mean, maybe we'll get another God of War collection as one such example on modern consoles. So yes, I think there's actually a very positive outcome that could potentially come from a game like this if it has success on the Switch 2. But let me know what you all think about this. Do you think Sony will actually release a God of War game, a tentpole franchise for them, on the Switch 2? Let me hear it in the comments below. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.